Hi, so I chose to do prompt number one, which was talking about what freedom meant to Jordan Anderson in the letter that he wrote to his former slave master, whose last name was also Anderson, and how it compares to freedom and my view of freedom today. And so, overall, this letter was really interesting to read, and the fact that he actually wrote it to his master who wanted him to come back and work for him, and how he wrote it and he included a lot of politeness in this letter and kind of a sense of irony in the things that he was talking about. But overall, this is a letter that really fully captures what it meant for him as far as what freedom meant and dignity and his personal security. So basically, his old master asked him to return, and Jordan wrote that he would consider returning with his family, his wife and his daughters, if his master would pay them all the money that he owed them for all the years of work. And he had it all added up, and that ended up being about $11,000 back in the day, which is crazy for him and his wife. And so he was like, if you pay us our wages, then we'll come back and work for you. And this just talks about how, like, the way he said this means that it wasn't just about the money, but it was more about that he recognized that this was what justice would mean. And since he was free, that's what he was owed. And then he also went on to talk about how their life was currently and what freedom actually meant as far as like being away from violence and not having to just fear all the white people around them. He mentioned how his daughters were going to school and how some people kind of like shamed them, but overall he said that like they were proud to have been his slaves and he was a pretty good master, but that they were kind of beginning to develop this own sense of emotional security and who they were as people and not just slaves. Also, obviously, physical security and that they weren't going to get abused and mistreated by the slave people, his master and workers. So, and just like his overall, I really liked how he included how he was raising his children in this sense of like they had this new life and he was now the head of the household instead of having to be subject to the people who were over him in that sense. And I just really overall thought that he encompassed what freedom meant to him and how he addressed this request from his old master, and how he wanted justice. He was really polite and he just was acting like he was a free man and a human being worthy of respect, which he definitely was. And that's probably came as a shock to his master and his former master. But personally, it just really helped me reflect on the fact that there's so many things that I take for granted being free in this country, and being able to just choose completely what I want to do. And I have my own career choices, education choices, belief choices. I can choose about my relationships, and I don't have to fear punishment. And it just helped me really understand and reflect on how valuable those things are. And this letter also made me consider the fact that there's a lot of people out there who just don't have that, and that we, as being free in the United States, should really work towards helping others who aren't achieve that sense of freedom and dignity that comes with being human. Thank you.